Hi 645 class, welcome to week 2 of our Musicumbrio group class videos. Today I'd like to do a little bit of a deeper dive into reviewing the Two Grenadiers and Witch's Dance. Now, I think virtually all of you have learned these pieces before, but I'm honestly not sure if we've ever played them in group class. So I'd like to talk about playing those in group class, playing those together, and do a little bit of work on reviewing them. So they're two of the harder ones. They're both in packet number 6, and they're pretty tricky for different reasons. Both of them have a bunch of kind of accidentals, some tricky kind of bowing and rhythm patterns, and so I think that they'd be a really good thing for us to spend a little bit of time reviewing. If you have not learned these songs yet, see if you can find them. If you need a copy of the sheet music, go ahead and email me to let me know, and I would be more than happy to email you a copy of the sheet music for one or both of these pieces if you don't yet have it. So let's start by talking about the Two Grenadiers. The Two Grenadiers starts in the key of D minor and then switches to the key of D major for the last section. It has a lot of dotted rhythms and hooked bowings. It also has a lot of fast circles. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to do a full playthrough of it for you. And if you know the Two Grenadiers well and you want to go ahead and play along, great. But if not, I'd like you to try to keep track of the things I just mentioned. So the hooked bowing, the fast circle, the dotted rhythms, and then also the key change, okay? So just start by playing it through, and then we'll talk about it and do some work. So it starts with a pickup note on an up bow on beat 4. So it goes 1, 2, go. Think about what you noticed. Feel free to go back and watch that again. As I said, there are a whole bunch of hooked bowings, some very fast circles. Of course, there's the key change. There's a lot of accidentals. And so if you need to do some technical work on this, I would certainly encourage you to do that. But what I want to talk about is playing it together in a group class. We have to think a lot about musicality. And this piece, if you don't know, a grenadier is a French soldier. And this piece, I think, is a wonderful example of kind of telling a story just with music. It's got kind of a very clear sort of picture that it paints. So if you picture these two grenadiers, these two French soldiers, and at the beginning, they're pretty clearly like marching off to battle, right? This sounds very much like sort of a martial kind of march. You can hear them marching. But then things change, and the mood really changes from one of kind of grim determination to all of a sudden, I always feel like this becomes more like the interior emotional state of the soldiers. So listen to the B section and think about, what do you think they're feeling right now? I don't know. Some fear, perhaps trepidation, perhaps missing home. Marching off into battle is not necessarily something that everybody's going to feel real great about. But then they kind of get their grit back. And then we have the key change, and in fact, the music after the key change is the French national anthem. And so this to me is always like a fast forward sort of in a movie, where now we kind of skip handily over the battle, and the battle is won, and now they are marching back home in triumph, or perhaps they're even already home and they're marching in a parade, and the military band is playing. So this is the French national anthem, and it's very proud and it's very grand. And it's happy. And then this part I always picture being played by trumpets. And then we slow down a little bit, broaden. Down a little bit for the end. Okay, so think about what kind of dynamics, right? The A section, they're marching into battle, so a solid mezzo forte, I would say, not too loud. This is definitely not the climax, we're just kind of setting the scene. And then the B section is more interior, and so it's quieter, softer, a little sadder maybe. And then we get this very determined, the C section is pretty short, but very determined and louder. And then at the key change, very grand and very loud, pompous even. You can imagine kind of pomp and circumstance. So if you're ready, you can actually go back to the beginning and play with me in the full playthrough, and kind of do those dynamics along with me. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and move on now to talking about Witch's Dance. So Witch's Dance doesn't really sound necessarily the way you might expect a witch's dance to sound. And this is a piece, it's actually the theme that forms the basis of a very famous theme and variations that the great violin virtuoso Niccolo Paganini wrote and performed. Paganini, one of the most famous great violin soloists who ever lived, and in fact had cultivated quite a legend, and a lot of stories and rumors were told about him. It was said that he sold his soul to the devil for his great talent on the violin. So if you've ever heard The Devil Went Down to Georgia, just know that that kind of story and myth goes back much further than the Charlie Daniels Band. Anyway, getting back to Witch's Dance, the big challenge here, I would say the biggest challenge, is switching back and forth from subdividing the beat into 16th notes and subdividing the beat into 8th note triplets. So to help us work on this, I'm going to turn on my metronome. So I've got my metronome here, and it's set at quarter note equals 60, and I'm hoping you can hear it even if you can't see it. So first, let's just clap some tas. Ready? Go. Ta, 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 ta. Now T-T's. T, 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 T. Triplets. Triplet, 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 trip. 16ths. Ticka, 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 ticka. Okay, great, great, great. Let's take a little break from that. We're going to do it again. And I want you to make sure that as you go from tas to 8th notes, 8th note triplets, and 16th notes, that your notes are always perfectly even. So whatever kind of note we're doing, they should all be exactly the same as each other. So your ta should all be exactly the same as each other. Your TT should be the same. Your eighth note triplets should be the same, and your ticka ticka should be the same. 1, 2, ready, go. Ta, 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 switch. T, 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 switch. Triplet, 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 trip. Switch. Ticka, 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 ticka. Great, great. So in Witch's Dance, we have a dotted 8th 16th note, which of course is like 3 16th notes plus 1 16th note. And then we also have 8th note triplets. Now, if you've studied this piece with me, I'm sure you've heard me say that the big danger is turning the dotted 8th 16th note into a dooba, okay? So here's what that would sound like. Dooba, dooba, doo, doo, dooba, dooba, doo. This is incorrect. Do not do it. This piece does not have doobas. It has dotted 8th 16th notes, which we call a timka. So not tim, like a dotted quarter note, but team, like a dotted T, okay? Which is exactly what it is. So to subdivide that, timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. So you could also subdivide on that in 16th notes. Listen. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. And then you have the triplets. Triplet, triplet, ta, rest. Okay, so I want y'all to practice that quite a bit. You can practice it just going timka, ti, rest, ta. Or timka, ti, rest, ta. And then you have to switch back and forth from that into the triplets. So let's just do that together from the beginning. If you've got your music, you might want to go ahead and get it out and take a look, okay? So from the beginning, ready, go. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Triplet, triplet, ta, rest. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Timka, ti, rest, ta. Triplet, triplet, ta, rest. Okay, so guess what, my friends? This is exactly what we're working on in the rhythmic scale study, right? Switching back and forth between divisions of the beat in 2 and 3 and 4, etc. So if you're struggling with this, go ahead also and take a look back at the extended rhythmic scale study video that I gave you for today. So last week we just did divisions of 2, 4, and 8. But this week I'm adding divisions of 3 and 6 and 9 and 12. So please make sure that you spend some time with that, especially if you're struggling with this rhythm. Okay? So now I want to show you how to do that with the hooked bowing on the violin. So watch. At the beginning, circle. right at the end there is the trickiest rhythm spot. So before you've got all those triplets, you've got team, ka, triplet, 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 where you have to actually switch from the team ka to the triplet in one measure. So let's try that again. Team, ka, triplet. Okay, let's try it again. Ready, go. Team, ka, triplet, 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 rest. Okay, great. I'd like now to play the whole piece a bit faster. If you want to play it slower, you can just rewind and do it with me the slow time. We're going to finish it off today playing it at a quicker tempo. Okay, so if you're ready, go ahead. I will give you an introduction. Beginning. Great job, everybody. Say your nice bow. Thank you so much for watching, and happy practicing. I'll see you soon. Bye.